This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss all of the news in the world of sports. My name is Ben.
And I'm Anthony.
We're back here on a Friday, the last Friday, I guess you can say work day,
right
before Super Bowl 51. The Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots will battle for the crown jewel, the Vince Lombardi Trophy on Sunday. Of course, we will talk about the game. It'll take up a lot of the show, but we're going to wait until the last segment of the show to talk about the Super Bowl. We've had to wait all week long. What's going to be another 20, 25 minutes?
Right.
It's going to be okay. So I'm feeling really good. Got a good night of sleep last night. I had a Hostess cupcake this morning. So I'm feeling a little energized.
Right.
And I'm ready to grind out this show today. So we have a lot planned. Of course, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, as I mentioned. We'll talk some basketball in the middle of the show. But first, we're going to lead off here with golf. Something we don't talk about too much, although we did talk about it last week. Tiger Woods did not make the cut last week in the Farmers Insurance Open in his first tournament back in about 3 years. Well, not 3 years, about 1 year since he's really got things going on a consistent basis. It's been a while. So he did not make the cut last week. And then this week he is in Dubai. He's at the Omega Dubai Desert Classic. It's a tournament over in the Middle East there. Tiger Woods yesterday, first round 77, so not the greatest of rounds. And then he actually had to withdraw this morning due to back spasms. His agent is Mark Steinberg. His agent did say that withdrawing due to back spasms in this instance is not due to his recent back history and his back problems. He's had nerve issues that have really plagued him over the last few years. And his agent, Mark Steinberg, said that this injury has nothing to do with those issues, which, I mean, personally, I don't really believe. That's like saying, oh, I have a bad knee. I'm having to leave a tournament. It has nothing to do with me having 2 blown ACLs in my right knee, but I have to leave with a right knee injury. You know what I mean? It's like that just doesn't really add up.
Right.
But, I mean, Tiger's 41 years old now. He's had injury issues, back, knees. I mean, we talked about it last week. I didn't think he would ever win a tournament again. I still stand by that point. And now it's like, okay, here we go again. Tiger's injured again. He's having to withdraw again. How long is this going to keep him out? We have the Masters in a couple of months, obviously beginning of April. Is he going to be ready for that? Who really knows? I mean, we don't know anything. Like I said, he was 5 over 77 in his first round. He didn't even have a birdie in the first round yesterday. I really hate to say it, man, but I just think he's done. Like I said it last week. I just don't have any faith in Tiger Woods at all right now.
I mean, it's hard to excuse me. It's hard not to think that that's probably the case. I mean, the last time he won a major was 2008, and so he retired from this tournament from back spasms, which is kind of his move. Like, not to criticize him or whatever, but that's kind of his thing, is like if he's not in contention after a day or two, he does the whole back spasm things, or just, injury and then goes home. Didn't do it last week, but, he does this. And if I had to guess and be right, I would probably go with you and say he's not going to win another tournament as far as a major goes. Probably win another tournament or two, just because he'll play in a bunch of things and, he'll luck into a couple, tournament wins. But as far as the Masters, Open, stuff like that, I don't think he's ever going to get one of those again. If I had to bet and be right, we just got off a whole tennis thing of basically Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and the Williams sisters. Nostalgia kind of with that, and I wanted Tiger to kind of also fall into that nostalgia thing where we can kind of see one more kind of great run from him. And I guess he still has the Masters, which is his basically it's his tournament that, like, if he's going to do good in one tournament that's, a major, that's the one he's going to do well in. But, you talked about all the injuries. I mean, the man had a violent swing from, a while ago, and that'll mess up your back, your shoulders, your knees. That just kind of grinds on you, and it's one of those things of, like, you mess up one part of your body, you start focusing, or, your body kind of adjusts, and now you're basically putting more pressure. Like, if you mess up one knee, you put more pressure on the other knee, and now that knee starts to deteriorate. And then when you go back to that, and then your back starts to mess up, like, it's kind of a domino effect to that whole thing. And he's 41 years old, and I understand he can win tournaments, especially in golf at an older age, but even that, he's starting to get to the limit of just like, okay, it's not probably going to be in the cards that you're even in contention for major championships at this point.
So during the round, Tiger Woods was showing signs that he was kind of, I want to say bothered maybe,
right,
a little bit in distress. He was walking really tentatively. He was really careful and took his time when he was lining up his putts. Of course, you're going to take your time anyway. But
right.
So he looked like he was maybe having a little bit of issues, but he did say that he was not in any pain at all, and it really just came while he was eating dinner after his round on Thursday night, which, I mean, to me, I don't really personally believe, but I guess we'll just have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He also said this is going to be probably a short-term prognosis, and he hopes that he'll be strong enough based on the fact that it's not due to the nerve damage he's suffered before. So you actually mentioned something there that I thought was kind of interesting. Do you think there's a correlation between, oh, I had a bad round, I don't really feel like being here, I'm going to say I have a back injury and kind of just bolt?
I mean, it's not the first time he's done it, right? Like, if he never did that, then I would say, no, he probably just, had a back problem and he doesn't want to, make it worse for when the Masters is, are coming right around the corner. But this is his move. Like, if you just look at it, he's done it before where he's not in contention. He's not going to probably make the cut. And instead of basically, putting more wear and tear on your body for another round, he's just kind of like, look, man, whatever. Like, yeah, my back hurts or whatever, and all right, I'm going to go. So, because it's happened in the past, I wouldn't put it past him that this is basically just him saying, all right, well, this tournament was not, for me. Okay, so I'm just going to go home and I'm going to try and adjust, for the next tournament, or I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, maybe take a month or two off, and just basically try and get everything squared away for when the Masters gets here and not worry about any minor tournaments, golf tournaments in between the Masters and now.
This is the 7th time that Tiger has had to withdraw from a tournament dating back to 2010, and the 3rd time before the cut. I mean, this is really just another nail in the coffin for me. We said last week, or at least I said last week, I think he's completely done. I don't see him ever winning again. And now yet another injury for Tiger Woods here, and I think it just really just adds more to my point that I don't see it happening anymore, because honestly, I really just can't trust that he's going to stay healthy. You mentioned the powerful swing. He's been playing like that for 20 years. Takes a wear and tear on your body. He's not in his prime anymore. He's 41. And I realize golf is one of those sports where age doesn't have much of a determining factor anyways, because while it does take a little bit of a wear on your body, you're not really doing a lot of physical activity like you are in other major sports. So you can play it into a lot older in age. So
it kind of reminded me of going back, really briefly to like tennis or whatever, Tiger Woods is kind of like Rafael Nadal in the sense of just like when you see him, it's just like all of this momentum and all of this passion when he swings and everything else like that. It's just all of his body is being used to where, I don't know, I guess that makes Mickelson Roger Federer or something like that. But it's basically one of those things like you can see, especially with Tiger, like in the beginning, and don't get me wrong, obviously it worked tremendously for him for about a decade, but it's one of those things of like you could see how powerfully he swung. When Nadal, you could see how powerfully he would hit it. And eventually the human body can only take so many of those things. It's like, at the NBA, you can only get so many dunks before your knees and your back and your body basically are like, okay, yep, we can't do this anymore. See Vince Carter at age 40 can still jump, but nowhere near he could, even 5-6 years ago.
So definitely really bad news for golf. He's still the most popular player in golf, even with all his injury issues and his issues even off the course, I should say. So it's definitely bad news. But if Tiger is able to keep this to a minor thing like he says it will, then he would be able to compete in the Genesis Open. That's in a couple of weeks, February 16th. And then the following week at the Honda Classic in Palm Beach, Florida. So we'll have to wait and see. But we'll take our first break on the show. After the break, we're going to talk basketball. Dwight Howard returns to Houston last night and gets a win with the Atlanta Hawks, and he played really well. Talk about that game, as well as the contestants for NBA All-Star Weekend in the dunk contest, the three-point contest, and the skills contest. Doing a little different this year. We'll talk about that right after the break at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
So we have the fields of the NBA All-Star Weekend in the dunk contest, the skills contest, and the three-point shootout. But first, before we announce that, we had a game last night where Dwight Howard returned to Houston. Dwight Howard, one of the more, I don't know, how do we want to describe him? One of the more controversial or...
Not controversial. I mean, he hasn't done anything wrong. Like I
no,
guess,
but like when he with like his teaming, like teams, how he just jumps everywhere.
Yeah, he's...
I don't really know.
Star-crossed? No.
I don't know what the exact word to put on it, but...
He's been on a lot of good teams. He's also, at this point in his career, not good enough to be the main guy and gets kind of shuffled around now.
He's been on Orlando, spent a year with the Lakers, he bolts to Houston, now he becomes a free agent and goes back to his home, I guess you can say, city of Atlanta. So
right.
He's gone really all over the place. So he returns to Houston last night, and actually, I've been a big critic of Dwight Howard. I'm not a big fan of him.
Right.
But he played really well last night. 24 points. He had 23 rebounds. He shot 11 of 13. The Hawks win 113-108 over the Rockets. Tim Hardaway Jr., a really good game as well. 12 of 18 from the field with 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. James Harden, on the other side, had 41 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists to go along with 4 steals. So James Harden now has the most 40-point games in the history of the Houston Rockets organization. He broke a tie last night with the Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon. So James Harden, in his few years he's been in Houston, already making a lot of impact and storylines there. So now let's talk about this NBA All-Star Weekend stuff. So I guess we'll start off with this skills contest. They're doing it a little differently, and I actually am a fan of how they're doing this. So they have like 4 guards and then 4 big men, which is something I like. They've done it in the past before. It's a little different. So you have probably one of my favorite players in the NBA right now, and definitely the most entertaining, Philadelphia 76ers rookie Joel Embiid. You have New Orleans Pelicans big man Anthony Davis. You have the unicorn Kristaps Porzingis. You have Boogie Cousins from the Kings. You have Isaiah Thomas of the Celtics. John Wall of the Wizards. Devin Booker of the Suns, really good young player. And then you have Gordon Hayward of the Jazz. So I'm kind of a fan of this. I would love to see Embiid try and win this thing, but he's definitely not one of the fastest big men out there.
Right.
So he's probably going to finish in last, but I'd probably go with a favorite, probably Isaiah, right? I mean, he's probably the quickest.
Or John Wall. I'd say one of those two.
John Wall's done really good in this contest before, but I mean, I'd love to see Embiid probably mic'd up during this.
Oh,
I'm
Embiid.
not sure if TNT will do stuff like that, but I think that'd be great.
No, for Embiid, they wouldn't let Cousins do it. Probably Cousins would probably drop a couple F-bombs in there, but they'd let Embiid do it. Embiid's one of those guys now that the NBA probably loves. Like, he came in basically from day one and started tweeting out stuff. He's trying to become a starter at the All-Star game to get a date with either Rihanna or whoever it was, because I think he denied that it was Rihanna. But yeah, he's someone that, like the NBA, I mean, it's not like the NFL where they basically don't want you to do anything and they're all rigid about their social media policies. The NBA seems pretty good with it as long as you don't, basically go Rajon Rondo and basically take a nuclear flamethrower to the whole organization. Like, they seem pretty good with it. So, yeah, I could see them letting Embiid basically getting him mic'd up and just seeing what he says.
Yeah, I'd love to see that happening. He's definitely one of the more entertaining players in the league, and he's only been in the league for this entire year. Well, I mean, he's been here a couple of years, but he hasn't played. So this is technically still his rookie year. So I would love to see that happening, and I hope that's going to be the case. Have a lot of fun. Joel Embiid's definitely going to have a lot of fun in this event. It's the only thing he's doing this weekend in the All-Star weekend since he's not in the All-Star game. So I'm sure he'll have a lot of fun with it, and I hope TNT does something with that as well. So when you look at the All-Star festivities still, you have the three-point contest. So defending champ Klay Thompson will be in it.
Right.
He'll face off against the 2013 champ Kyrie Irving of the Cavs. You have Kyle Lowry of the Raptors. You have Kemba Walker of the Hornets. You have Eric Gordon from the Rockets, who's been really good this year. He's been like basically their sixth man, and he and Ryan Anderson basically just stand there and have a competition to see who can shoot the most threes. So I'm glad to see Gordon in there. He's a guy who's probably attempted more threes than a lot of the other guys on this list. You have Wesley Matthews from the Dallas Mavericks, C.J. McCollum of the Portland Trailblazers, and another entertaining guy I'd love to see mic'd up is the last guy on this list. Swaggy P, Nick Young of the Lakers.
I saw him one time because I got really lucky one time and I was able to go into the locker room for a Kings-Lakers game when Kobe was still on the team, but it was when he was injured for one of those 2 seasons. Like the whole season he was gone.
Okay.
And I got to go in the locker room and talk to Nick Young after the game. The happiest dude you'll ever see in your life. That dude smiles the entire time. It does not matter if they win or lose. He seems to always be in a happy mood. He's like someone who, I mean, we saw with the shot he missed, that like infamous now shot where he'd like put his hands up like, starts running back on defense. Like that dude never seems like he's ever not in a happy mood, good mood. And if you put him mic'd up, it's just going to be great. He's going to be tapping up everybody all around there. He's just going to be shooting. I don't know if he'll do good or bad, but I think it'd be entertaining.
He's... In a good way or a bad way, Nick Young is one of the more entertaining players. It reminds me a lot of like JaVale McGee. Like they seem to always do something that's just like, wait, what happened now?
And they were on the same team in Washington.
Like remember when Nick Young, he had the wide open layup and he shot it over the backboard? Like, oh man,
that
Swaggy P, bro.
No, that not Warriors team, that Wizards team from call it 2007, 8, 9, something around there. When John Wall was really young in the league, and you had Nick Young, you had JaVale McGee, you had Javaris Critton, you had all these people, Deshaun Stevenson, all these people on the team just like full of knuckleheads. Just the poor coach of the team was probably like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Gilbert Arenas, by the way.
Yeah, Agent Zero.
Gilbert Arenas on the team before he decided to go crazy. Or he probably was crazy at the time. It just wasn't as public. Yeah, that team. Crazy.
So Steph Curry will not be in this contest. He was the winner in 2015, and he was the runner-up last year. I'm going to say he just wants a little bit of a rest.
I mean,
honestly,
get it, yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's probably.
He's going to be in the All-Star game, which is on Sunday, but he's not going to be doing anything Friday nor Saturday. So I'm saying probably just a little bit of a rest. Honestly, Steve Kerr's coaching the game as well on Sunday. I probably would assume he would kind of take it easy with his players, given the fact that I think this year they finally realize they went for the record last year, and that was all great. But in order to win the championship, they're going to have to take some nights off.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of realizing that. They had a big win last night over the Clippers. They won 133-120. Blake Griffin came back and absolutely just dunked on everybody in the game, so it was great to see him there. But speaking of dunks, we'll talk about the dunk contest real quick before the break. So the dunk contest, for me, has been losing a lot of its limelight for the simple fact that there's really nothing that these guys have never done before.
Sure.
There's only so much you can do with dunks before you finally run out of steam and can't bring anything really new to the table. So for me, I'd love to see some sort of thing where they do some retro dunks, try to see who could do it better, try to find some way to make it entertaining.
I always thought one of the easiest ways to make it entertaining, now this is going to be really hard to do because you got people who have pride, but you find somebody who's in the D League who probably doesn't care as much about it, but take someone who's trying to block their shot and then dunk on them. Do a fancy dunk while having someone, from the D League. No one, you can't, obviously bring in somebody like a Gordon Hayward to try and block the shot because then you're going to get ridiculed from your team. And I guess you still will from the D League players, but just bring in somebody who can jump good enough to where it looks like they're going to block the shot and then do, Vince Carter through the legs or whatever, 360 and dunk on him at that point. I feel like that would make it a little bit fancier, but that's all I can think of as far as to make it entertaining.
It's not a bad idea. I think it'd be a little hard, especially if you're trying to do something really creative.
Right.
And you do have the risk for injury there in that regard as well, but it's not a bad idea. But if that were to be the case, I know who one participant would be bringing. He'd be bringing Brandon Knight.
Oof.
Because we do have DeAndre Jordan in the dunk contest. Remember when he
Brandon Knight
literally just
dunked
all over
that was
Brandon
like
Knight.
4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. That was a while ago, actually.
I still remember like it was yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Like, he literally just destroyed Brandon Knight. So
bad.
DeAndre Jordan is in the dunk contest, obviously, of the Clippers. We have Glenn Robinson III of the Pacers. A guy I'm really interested to see is Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. He's back in the dunk contest last year. He was the runner-up to Zach LaVine, who's actually not going to be defending his title, or his back-to-back titles, I should say. He's won the last 2 years. So I'm kind of disappointed there. I feel like Gordon and LaVine put on a really, really good show last year.
So good.
And honestly, I thought Gordon probably should have won it.
Yes, same here.
I'm a big fan of Aaron Gordon. I remember watching him back in his high school days. He's basically kind of local here, a couple hours away from San Jose. And I remember he would do some pretty flashy stuff back in high school when I used to watch him. So, interested to see an Aaron Gordon. He's probably my favorite. And then the dark horse, who everyone's kind of talking about on social media, is this guy, Derrick Jones Jr. You may have not heard of him. Honestly, I hadn't heard of him before last night.
Right.
He's a member of the Suns. He's spent a lot of time in the D-League. But watching a lot of his tapes, he's got a lot of bounce.
He's got some vicious ones,
He's got some jumps there, and he can really, really dunk some really vicious things. He's basically a small forward, so he's a little smaller. I'd probably go with Gordon still, but I think it'll come down to Jones and Gordon. I think they'll probably put on a really good show, and hopefully they do a lot like LaVine and Gordon did last year.
Right, yeah, that's the thing, because Gordon, like I'm with you, like I think he probably won it last year just because some of the dunks that he had over the mascot, and when the mascot was doing the rotating 360 thing and he grabbed it from him, like he had some things that we talked about, oh, you can't do anything. Well, some of those things I'd never seen before, especially the way he was doing them. And maybe that was because he had to go against Zach LaVine, so it's like, okay, I got to elevate my game more to where, I mean, you know, you don't really have anybody that's as known in this contest outside of, I guess, DeAndre Jordan, but he's not necessarily a between-the-legs 360 thing. He's just like, let me dunk from basically behind the free throw line kind of thing just because he's so big and long. But yeah, it kind of makes me sad that Zach LaVine's not going to be in the dunk contest because, you know, while the dunk contest has lost its luster, like he was one of the guys that basically brought it back. And then Steph Curry's not going to be in the three-point contest. So you take two of the guys that basically
are the top of what they do.
Yeah, and they're not going to be. I get it with Steph, like, you know, like you said, let's focus on basically winning a title because we tried this whole let's get everything all last year. Let's get the accolades of like 3-point contest wins. Let's get the regular season wins, like all these things. Let's rack everything up, MVP, all that stuff like that, and it didn't work. So this year they're kind of going a little more methodical. And Zach LaVine, I mean, you've won it twice. Like, you want to do it 3 times and basically tie Nate Robinson? Or, I mean, you're still one of the elites. And, you know, when you talk about the best in the dunk contest history, you're going to be one of them. So there's nothing really left for him to prove.
But he has nothing left to do. I mean, Minnesota's not going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
The only thing he's really risking is an injury, which is, of course, really important and everything. But I would have loved to see him try and go for a 3P. That would have been great.
Also,
he's one of the best dunkers in the game. So
also, maybe he looks at it just like, you know, we can joke and say like, oh, I think that Eric Gordon won, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he may look at it and like, yeah, I don't want to go against him again. Like, I beat him, and like I feel like if I go again one more time, like I'm probably not going to beat him again. Like, maybe it's one of the things like he just wants to retire on top.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. I'm not really sure what his motive is, nor do we really know. But
right.
Speaking of Jones Jr., so Derrick Jones Jr. of the Suns, he's played a total of 11 minutes this year.
Right.
So a lot of it is just really coming from his, I guess you can say, his highlight reel from the D-League and some of the stuff he does during practices and everything. But if you have not seen it, definitely take a chance to check him out. He's really, really good. You can watch him on YouTube. Just search his name. And he's got a lot of bounce, and he can really put on an impressive show. So we'll have to see what happens. He's basically the dark horse, in my opinion. We'll take our last break of the show. After the break, it is finally time. We will talk Super Bowl 51, New England Patriots and Atlanta Falcons, Sunday from Houston in the NRG Stadium where the Texans play. We'll talk about the game, who's going to win the game, some X factors, what's going to determine who wins and everything right after the break at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Super Bowl 51 live from Houston. The New England Patriots versus the Atlanta Falcons, the champions of the NFC versus the champions of the AFC. Really interesting storylines. We have the number one scoring offense in Atlanta against the number one scoring defense in New England. History has told us that in that regard, the defense wins.
Right.
Think about Seattle, last year Denver. This game really reminds me so much of last year, it's crazy to think about. Number one scoring offense against number one scoring offense. Number one scoring defense, number one scoring defense. Legendary quarterback, Peyton Manning, this year Tom Brady. MVP, last year Cam Newton, probably this year Matt Ryan. Team from the NFC South. I mean, this game literally just screams last year so much to me. It's crazy to think about it.
Only Brady's a lot better than what Peyton was last year.
Exactly. But the defense for Peyton was a lot better than New England's. Although the number one scoring defense, I mean, you got to give them some credit for that.
Sure.
They definitely did a good job of shutting down the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Although Le'Veon Bell did get injured with a groin injury in the first quarter, that probably changed a lot of their game plan. You still have to give the Patriots the benefit of the doubt and say that they executed and did their job because they won the game pretty convincingly. So, Anthony, I'll turn it over to you. Who wins the game and why?
See, because it's such a close kind of matchup in that aspect, I want to say the Patriots just because I saw a stat way in the beginning, 2 weeks ago when this whole thing was starting, that basically Brady has more Super Bowl experience than the entire Falcons roster, which isn't for nothing. You can still get nervous and everything else like that, but this is number 7 for him. So at this point, it's just like basically a playoff game for him. He's like, oh yeah, Super Bowl, yeah, I've been to those. And someone pointed this out before. It's basically if you look at the roster that they have on offense, right? None of them are that skilled of players, right? Edelman's a good player or whatever, but outside of that, Hogan's a guy that you didn't hear of after, to start the year. You didn't hear about Chris Hogan. You didn't know who he was. Deion Lewis was hurt the whole year. LeGarrette Blount you heard of, but it's because he smoked weed all the time and punched a dude over in Oregon. And when he was in Oregon against the Boise State guy.
Yeah, I remember that game.
And, they have a list of all these people that either are really talented, like Gronk who's injured, or someone like Edelman or Amendola or Hogan. It's like all these list of guys that can beat you no matter if they're good, bad, or whatever. And you can have a great secondary on defense to defend them. You can have a great linebacking core, all these things else like that. But they just rotate dudes left, right, all the time. Just funnel them in and out. It doesn't matter that Gronk's gone. He's been out, for 4 or 5 weeks, undefeated since then. It didn't matter that they didn't have Brady for the first 4 weeks of the season. They basically shut out the Texans with Jacoby Brissett, their third-string quarterback. I understand Atlanta's offense is fantastic, but it's not going to be clicking on all cylinders just because you get 2 weeks to prepare. Belichick's really good. He's going to take away something. I think Matt Ryan's probably the MVP this year, but I think that you just take everything into account. And all this being said, I don't think it's going to be like some 42-7 game. I think it's probably going to be one of those 24-21 close, low-scoring games. But I got to go with the Patriots.
Okay. So you mentioned the Super Bowl experience. The Patriots have 23 players on their roster who have played in the Super Bowl. And I mean, they were there 2 years ago, so obviously it's a little skewed. The Atlanta Falcons have 5.
Right.
And of the major contributors on their team, the only one I can really think of that has some Super Bowl experience is Dwight Howard with his time with the Colts.
Sure.
You look at Matt Ryan, you look at the running backs, you look at Vic Beasley on the defense, you look at Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel. None of them have Super Bowl experience. So of the major contributors, the only one that does is Dwight Howard, and he's obviously a lot older than a lot of the other guys on the team. So what impact he'll have in the game is obviously left to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, this is their 7th Super Bowl. They're unbeaten in Super Bowls against people that are not quarterbacked by Eli Manning. They just can't beat the Giants. They're literally just their kryptonite. Everyone has that. Everyone has their legacy, and then you have the but they always do that against that team, or this person always beats that person. So they have every person has it against them. For the Patriots, it's the Giants and Eli Manning. So with the exception of them, they're unbeaten in Super Bowls. You look at the New England defense, number one scoring defense. The one really good quarterback they played this year was Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. And what happened? He absolutely lit him up, and the Seahawks went in to Foxborough and beat the Patriots. So I think Matt Ryan and the Falcons offense is going to have some success against this defense. I don't really expect them to shut down the Atlanta Falcons like they did the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a lot of matchups they can really execute on. The running backs out of the backfield as receivers, I think, is a big addition with Freeman and Coleman. You have Julio Jones, who, of course, the Patriots are going to do everything they can to shut him down. Sanu's a really good receiver. Taylor Gabriel's a shifty and quick receiver. So you have some other options there. So I do expect the Falcons to have some success moving the ball. I think the difference in the game is going to be how New England game plans on offense. For me, I would definitely come out of the gate. If I win the coin toss, I'd take the ball. Because I want to give my offense and Tom Brady as much time as they can to waste the clock. Because the object of the game is to keep this high-powered Atlanta offense, who's averaging 34 points a game, the most in the league, on the sidelines.
Right.
If I take the ball right away, I have LeGarrette Blount, who had 1,100 yards and 18 touchdowns. I have Dion Lewis, who has, when he's played, the Patriots are literally unbeaten. They're 16-0 when Dion Lewis has played.
Right.
So I'm not saying, it's literally the Dion Lewis factor.
But he helps.
But he definitely helps, and he's good out of the backfield as well.
Right.
So I think if the Patriots come out and execute a game plan of trying to run the ball and use a lot of the clock, then I think they're going to win this game because they'll keep Atlanta on the sidelines. Atlanta's defense is not terrible, but it's not, I don't think it's as good as New England's. It's fast. How do you counter speed with physicality? So I think they're going to really try and come out, pound the ball with the Garrett Blount, have Brady in the shotgun, kind of dink and dunk his way down the field to Edelman, to Hogan, and just win the game. I think it'll be in the 20s, as you mentioned. I'll give the Patriots a victory. I'll say 28 to 23, something along those lines. The spread is 3. The Patriots are a 3-point favorite. That's actually the spread that came out right after the game in the championship game, so it hasn't moved since.
Right.
The over-under is 59. I really don't see how that game goes over. A lot of these big-time Super Bowls kind of don't live up to the hype as far as scoring-wise. Mm-hmm. Think about the Giants that beat the Patriots 17-14 in the first time.
Yeah.
A lot of these games don't really go into the 30s, and at 59, one team would probably have to score 30. So I don't really see that happening. I think it's maybe middle of the pack. I say 28-23 to the Patriots.
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple other things, right, about this game. One of them is I've seen people basically diagram with how the Patriots, you talked about, defending Julio Jones and everything else like that. Basically, what the Patriots have done is they don't basically, take their number one cornerback, Malcolm Butler. They don't say, okay, you go take Julio Jones, you have fun, please defend him well, because I don't want to basically, see him getting burned every single time. What they basically do is they take the second-string cornerback and a safety and basically double-team the best dude, and then you take Butler and put him on the second-best wide receiver so you can take him away, and then you double-team that guy, so it's okay, cool. So now we basically defended both of these guys, and now, we can kind of go from there. They have these different styles and schemes to do stuff. And also, you talked about if you're the Patriots to basically, burn the clock. Also, I don't think this is going to happen because Belichick tends to like to defer so that way he can get the ball in the first half, which, fine, I get that too, obviously. But it's the thing of, if they get the ball first, they being the Falcons, and they score first, which they do a lot.
They've done that 8 games in a row, which is an NFL record.
If they do that again, and they get up, let's just say it's even a field goal, right? Not even a touchdown, let's say it's even a field goal, but they kill some clock and they do all these things like that, then, that all of a sudden puts the pressure on the Patriots. Then they could start blitzing Brady. And the one thing we've seen about Brady, as fantastic as he is, and this defense isn't what the Giants have been, but the times they lose, yes, Eli's the quarterback, but also that defense always gets to him. It always makes him uncomfortable and he has to move around. He doesn't look like the same guy. And if you can get out and score first, then all of a sudden you kind of pin your ears back, everything else, and just kind of attack a lot more than if you were still tied at 0 or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see, right out of the gate, if they can go down and score a touchdown And it's like, okay, now we're just going to blitz Brady, and we're going to see if we can basically make him uncomfortable and not be the same dude like he was 2 weeks ago, where he might have had the best playoff game he's had his entire career.
Remember, the Patriots did win the toss in the AFC Championship game against Pittsburgh, and they actually took the ball. They went down and scored right away. So I think Belichick kind of is going to have that same mindset, because when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they remind me a lot of the Atlanta Falcons. Really, really good offense, dynamic playmakers, and defense is kind of just middle of the park, middle so-so. So I feel like Belichick could have that same mindset. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, if the Falcons win the toss, Dan Quinn's a defensive guy. I'm sure he'll want to put his defense out there right away. So it'll be interesting to see. So I think the Patriots will probably start off with the ball first anyway. But it's going to be interesting because the Falcons are not used to playing from behind, especially recently, because their offense is so good. They jump out on you right away. They go up 7-0. If they make one stop, you can almost count it 10 or 14 right away because they're going to score again. So it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like for the Falcons to win, they're going to have a really, really good balance. I think blitzing Brady is really key. If you get to Tom Brady, you bring pressure, you get to him, that's really the one way you can beat him, because he's not going to even think about escaping from the pocket. He's just going to kind of fall down, live for the next play, and take a sack. So if the Falcons can get out of the gates right away, get a touchdown, get these running backs going, because they're going to waste a lot of time too. Although they are a high-scoring offense, they don't do things no huddle. They take their time at it, 5-6 minute drives all the time. So they're going to try and wear down this number one scoring defense in New England as well. So I think if they can maybe come out of the gate, get a touchdown right away, waste some time, maybe make a stop, hold the Patriots to a field goal, then go down to kick or get a touchdown and maybe make it 14-3 and force New England to play from behind, then I think things could be a little differently, because the Falcons are not coming in with a whole lot of experience in this game. They're going to try to just really be confident and try to just pound them physically. And I think that's the one way they're going to win this game. But I just can't bet against Brady and Belichick. This is number 7 for them.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, you can talk about, like, oh, the Falcons do this. Oh, they do this. Da-da-da. Also, it's just like, man, they've been here 7 times, man. It's not like they're not even going to, like, flinch, much less, be afraid. It's just like, oh, okay, cool. So we got the Falcons this time? Okay, great. Like, there's no Super Bowl jitters for Brady. I mean, 7. Like, it's just one of those things of he's as used to doing this as he is in week 7 against the Dolphins or something like that.
Exactly. This is number 2 in the whole organization for the Falcons. They, of course, lost the 98 Super Bowl to John Elway and the Broncos, so they're 0-1 in Super Bowls. This is Brady and Belichick's 7th overall. The whole Falcons organization is going to be playing in their 2nd.
Yeah.
Not just the players on the team, the whole organization.
And they haven't played since 1998.
They have 19 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is number 9 overall for the Patriots. Honestly, I'm rooting for the Falcons. I'd love to see Matt Ryan and company get a Super Bowl.
Right.
I've been a really big fan of Atlanta this year. Everyone kind of, and myself included, during the middle of the season was like, oh, this is really the same team we saw last year when they were 5-0 and then the whole wheels fell off last year. I thought it was the same team. Like, oh, they got off to a good start, and I think they'll sort of come back down to earth and really slow down. But that wasn't really the case. Atlanta was there really throughout the whole entire season, and in my eyes, really deserving of this NFC Championship victory. Although the Cowboys versus Atlanta would have been, I think, a really good game.
Yeah.
But Green Bay did defeat Dallas. So I'm happy for Atlanta. I'm honestly rooting for them. I'd love to see Matt Ryan and them win. Not just about this whole Brady thing, because I'm sick and tired of Brady, but because you have to really respect his game. And I think he's going to go down as the greatest quarterback ever, and definitely in our generation. So I have to respect him and everything. But I'd love to see someone other than Patriots win, is what I want to say.
Well, sure, yeah. But I also selfishly want to say that I saw the best quarterback of all time play and saw him win all 5 of his Super Bowls.
Yeah, because he will be the first quarterback to win 5.
Right. You can talk about Montana, you can talk about Bradshaw, both have 4, but to have 5, it's like, okay, then you kind of got to say you're the best. And I didn't see Montana play. I didn't see Marino play outside of like the last year he played where he wasn't the same dude. I didn't see Elway. I didn't see Bradshaw. I didn't see Bart Starr. I didn't see Unitas. I didn't see any of these dudes who are thought of as the greats. And if I can see this, it's like, okay, fine. Like, yeah, fine. I'd literally root for the team opposite the division, the Dolphins. But also, and like, even if I was like a Knicks fan back in the 90s, I still would have wanted to see Michael Jordan play because he was the best, possibly ever to ever play basketball. So it's one of those things of I just want to see greatness play.
Exactly, and with Tom Brady, we're definitely seeing that, really, in my eyes, regardless of how this game comes out. Obviously, if he wins, he'll have 5, which will just give you another talking point as to why he's the best ever. But even if he goes down and loses this game, I really do think he's still the best ever. Just everything he's sort of done. I mean, think about the legacy of Tom Brady.
Right.
It happens because Drew Bledsoe gets hurt against the Jets.
Basically, yeah.
So, I mean, that even just that right there, it's kind of like it's almost meant to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all with Belichick, I mean, I really don't know what else there is to really say. So,
speaking of meant to be, like they're showing like the Tuck Rule game and everything else right now with the Patriots and Raiders back in 2002. Meant to be. They had I saw this thing yesterday. Basically, they had Adam Vinatieri in at I think it was Fox Sports 1. No, ESPN because it was Woodson. And, Vinatieri, still playing in the league, goes over and, him and Woodson see each other, and Woodson's first words to him are, "I still hate you."
Right, because he obviously kicks the
because that was still
overtime.
15 years ago. Yeah, he's still met, even though they both have Super Bowls since that time. Woodson's still just like, "I hate you," because Woodson was the one that hit Brady. He was the one that basically knocked it loose that didn't basically become a fumble.
Right, so I mean, it's definitely a lot of good talking points going into this game, and I'm just really excited for Sunday. It's going to be kicking off around 3 o'clock Pacific time, so 6 Eastern. So you have to wait a long time if you're on the East Coast, even here on the West Coast, 3 o'clock. But Lady Gaga's the Super Bowl halftime show. I hope she does great. I'm sure she will do great. She's definitely a really good performer. We haven't really seen much from her the last couple of years, and she's kind of toned it down from her usual, I want to say craziness, weirdness. So hopefully she puts on a good show, and then Luke Bryan will be singing the national anthem. So that is everything here. We are going to be signing off. We'll be back Monday. Of course, I'll be talking about the Super Bowl. I'm sure a lot of the show I do on Monday will be dominated by Super Bowl talk, a lot of the storylines. I hope it's a great game. I'm sure it will be a great game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I really don't. I think it'll be a close, competitive game all the way through, and we'll have to wait and see come Sunday. But anyways, that's going to be it for the show. My name is Ben.
And I'm Anthony.
We are signing off here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. And Super Bowl 51 just a couple of days away. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.